Every day that passes by, it feels like Hollywood makes less and less original content. There's just so many remakes that continue to come out. Movies based on Stephen King's novels are no exception. The main issue I have is that the movies are already hit or miss as it is, so I can confidently say that I did not expect a remake for Firestarter. I mean, was anyone even asking for it? If you saw the 1984 version, then you should have no issue watching this one because it turns out that they actually changed the story. At least that's what I've been told. To be honest, I haven't really seen it either. Regardless, let me walk you through a little synopsis to help you get caught up. The movie follows the McGee family, which is composed of Andy and Vicky, as well as their daughter Charlie. It takes place around 10 to 15 years after Andy and Vicky were tricked into signing up for an experiment named Lot 6, which killed most of the participants and gave the couple their powers. Vicky develops telekinesis, but she refuses to use it for some reason. Andy, on the other hand, gains an ability referred to as the push, which is essentially just mind control. I know, a little confusing. When his ability first manifests, it looks as though there is a premonition aspect to it, but that never comes up again. Anyway, the two escape because their baby daughter, who was conceived during captivity, is taken from them. In order to rescue her, Andy uses his powers to get some government agents to kill themselves, and then the McGees become fugitives forced to constantly be on the run from the government entity that captured them, an entity known only as the Shop. At some point when Charlie is around 12 years old, her powers start getting to a point where they are starting to overwhelm her ability to control them. It is never really explained why this is happening, although I think it's because some dickhead at her school continues to bully her, which, by the way, he never gets called out even though he does this in front of the teacher, so what the fuck was up with that? Anyway, that's just my theory, but it never really gets confirmed. One day, she's just pushed too far and she ends up releasing her powers in the bathroom. The door for the stall that she is in is just blown open and fire just shoots out. This is where I think she fucked up because she just walks out, makes eye contact with her teacher who saw everything and just doesn't say anything. I would have walked out yelling something like, "Damn, those burritos fucked me up." The blast ends up alerting the Shop of the McGee's location. They end up sending an assassin from one of their previous experiments, a sort of Lot 5 if you will, and he has the ability to retrieve any information he needs from people just by looking into their eyes. He heads to the home of the McGees, and this happens to coincide with Charlie accidentally using her powers to burn her mom Vicky. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, her power is that she can essentially firebend, so... Anyway, Vicky asks Andy to take Charlie out for a movie and ice cream so she can calm down. While they're at their movie, Rainbird attacks Vicky. She refuses to give up her family and she tells him that Charlie is special and that he'll understand when he sees her. He ends up extracting the info from her anyways, and then he just chokes her to death. When Charlie and Andy arrive, Rainbird captures Charlie and they end up in a hostage situation. I want to mention that Rainbird covers his and Charlie's eyes because he knows how Andy's powers work. This is going to be important, so remember this. Anyway, Charlie starts to heat everything up and this breaks the lock, which reveals Vicky's dead body, which in turn causes Charlie to shoot her power straight at Rainbird and gives her and Andy an opportunity to escape. They continue to flee and end up at this old couple's home. They spend the night, and throughout the night, the man named Irv ends up watching the news and sees that Andy is getting blamed for the murder of Vicky, so he calls the cops. The cops eventually show up, but guess who else? It's our buddy Rainbird. He snipes the cop in a very unrealistic manner, by the way, and then just walks up to Andy and Charlie without covering his eyes, even though he knows that Andy is able to use his power to get him to unalive himself. Andy does not do this, fortunately. He only uses his powers to cause Rainbird to hallucinate so Charlie can escape. I want to mention that Rainbird already knows that Charlie is special at this point, but he hunts them down anyway. The Shop shows up and captures Andy and Rainbird. From here, Charlie is then forced to stop the Shop and rescue her father. Spoiler, it's successful since she masters her powers after only practicing for a few hours. I didn't like it, guys. The movie was just horrendous. I don't know what the hell they were thinking, but the pacing was just god-awful. Some important parts felt as though they were being speedrun through, while other insignificant scenes dragged on forever. For example, they had Mr. Red Foreman himself in the movie, for some reason, even though he doesn't have anything to do with what's going on, with the exception of just padding the timer. Additionally, some of the lines the characters say seem awkward and don't make any sense. Not to mention the audio is spliced weird and it makes me wonder how little they actually spent recording.
I saw that documentary on Netflix.
I think it would have been better if they had split the movie into 2 parts. That way they could have fed us more information about what happened during Lot 6 without it being shown through flashes during the intro. Honestly, you guys can skip this one. It's boring and it drags on so long. Ultimately, it wasted the star power that it did have. So it'll be a nay from me. If you guys don't believe me, you can watch it in theaters or stream it on Peacock because it's there for some reason. Anyway, let me know. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you want to hear me say more? Let me know down in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you can catch all my future videos. As always, this has been Subtly Artistic. Peace out.